in the morning. One for the pain, no hesitation. Took us we can, nothing to save us, yeah. I just wanna be around you. I just wanna be free for the night, all in or nothing. Not gonna stop, dance till the morning light. I just wanna be around you. I just wanna be around you.
Hi guys, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Aya, and today's video we are going to make together enough breakfast for the whole month for 4 people. I'm gonna stock up my freezer with the easy breakfast. We're gonna have some easy stuff like French toast, cookies, crepes, easy to make but also easy to reheat after when we use them. So if this is something interesting for you, let's jump into the video. Okay, let me start by saying 7.5 dozen of eggs in Sam's Club is $9.76. That means it's $1.30 a dozen. That's amazing price. So buy everything in bulk. That's what I usually do, unless like here Texas toast. I couldn't find any Texas toast in Sam's Club, so I had to grab these from Walmart. And the brown sugar also is from Walmart because I didn't really need a lot for my recipes. Here I have dry wax papers. Those are really important when you do meal prep, especially breakfast and wrapping sandwiches and stuff like that. Make sure you grab those. And then here, my friend, I did a beef roast. That was the first thing in the morning. I was like, I didn't even had my coffee yet, and I was like, I have to get this done. I should have probably do it the night before and put in a slow cooker. That would be smarter if you do that way, but if you was like me and you forgot to do it, it's fine. In the Instant Pot, it took me 2 hours and 13 minutes.
At me like I know what he's thinking, but I don't have a clue.
This is a 2.5 pound, okay, beef. I did salt and pepper. I cook it in an Instant Pot, and then I added the rest of the ingredient. I'm gonna show you this after. So here I grabbed some olive oil. I add some olive oil to the bottom of the pot. Make sure you put enough, like enough to cover the whole bottom of the pot, and then you put in a saute mode, and make sure you put it in high. And this is what you want to do. You want to make sure it's brown from each side before we do the rest of the steps. Now for the saute mode, I'm gonna change it to low. I just added 30 minutes. I don't want it to stop cooking while I'm still doing what I have to do. To the oil, I'm adding onion and garlic. These are 2 tablespoons of garlic, and the onion is around 1 small chopped onion. Those are frozen. I always freeze my onion and my garlic. I just put everything in a food processor and put it in a Ziploc bag and leave it in the freezer, and whenever I need it, I don't have to do anything. Just grab it, throw it there, and that's it. And here I have my spices. I'll put a list of the spices right here for you guys. And to the spices, I added a tablespoon of harissa. This harissa is very good. It gives it really good taste. You don't have to do it if you don't want to do it. I will link this one is from Amazon. And to that, I'm adding some tomato sauce. All the ingredients will be also listed in the description box if you want to do the same recipe. So now I'm gonna put the meat bag to the Instant Pot, and to that I'm adding our spice and tomato mixture as well as some water. Then I cover it and I change the mode to meat stew, and I put it for 1 hour and 10 minutes. But after when I check it, it was not really cooked the way I wanted, so I added more time. So the total was 2 hours and 30 minutes for my 2.5 pounds of beef. And here in a small skillet, I put some butter and some spinach. I'm gonna be working on the eggs for my English muffin sandwiches.
Love me like you love a pack of smokes in the morning. One for the pain, no hesitation. Took us we can, nothing can save us, yeah. I just wanna be around you. I just wanna be free for the...
If I can give you a tip, when you freeze something that has eggs in it, make sure you add some cream or some milk, because the egg's gonna be too dry if you freeze it, and the cream gonna keep it creamy and yummy and juicy. To that, I'm adding some salt and pepper and some shredded cheese. So before I put the egg mixture to cook, I want to make sure that the tin where I'm going to put the eggs fit all my English muffins. So here I have 12 English muffin. I want it to be big enough to hold all of it, not too small because we're going to cut it and we want to make sure that I have enough to be in a sandwiches, but I don't want it to be too big because you're going to be wasting lots of eggs. But we're not going to waste anything. Whatever is going to be left over from this eggs mixture is going to go to the burrito sandwiches after. Before you add the spinach to the egg mixture, you want to make sure it cools down and also drain it, and you don't want any water in it. I just spray a little bit of butter spray. You don't have to do that, to be honest with you, but I was like, I don't want to take risk, you know, so I just did it. And then here I'm just trying to have spinach everywhere in each bite. I don't want to have like a bite with more spinach than the other one. That's what I'm doing right here. And then I'm gonna put this in my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It took me 12 minutes. This is really depend on how hot is your oven, so you want to make sure to touch it once it's cooked and is not liquidish. And while this is cooking, I'm gonna start working on my French toast, and of course my little baby boy wants to help. Here I'm adding some brown sugar and some white sugar. And of course I add the milk and the spices and a little bit of salt before I start dipping the toast. And here you want to make sure that you're using Texas toast if you can. At this point the eggs was ready. You check it with the finger, make sure it's all set, take that aside and let it cool until we finish working on the toast. For the toast, you can absolutely do this in the oven, but I really prefer the one that's done in the stove and the skillet. So this is really up to you. You can always try this and see which one you like better. This is the one that my kids like, so that's what I'm doing right now. Don't overcook your French toast, otherwise it's gonna be too dry when you reheat them after. Okay, here the egg mixture has cooled down, so I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting some circles like that. I mean, you don't really have to do that. You can cut squares, but I just want it to be, you know, fancy, look pretty. So I use this glass to cut some circles like this. I took the bread, I add some butter, the egg mixture, the cheese, and the bread again, and I just wrap it in my wax paper. And I'm gonna continue doing this. I'm cooking the French toast at the same time until I'm done.
I told myself that maybe he ain't worth it. Too bad I hate advice. 'Cause out of sight and out of mind is perfect. It's so hard to decide. Oh, I know he coming.
My 3-year-old has a lot of questions, you know, lots of why question. Why the sky is blue? Why do we have 2 eyes? Why do we have 1 nose? Why do we have a house? Why do we have a kitchen? So he just decided to come sit close to me and ask me all his questions.
It's so hard to decide. Oh, I know he coming good in his pocket. I know.
At this point, all the French toast cooled down. You want to make sure that it's cold before you add it to the Ziploc bag. I didn't freeze them or anything. I just let them sit at room temperature until it's cold, and then I just stuck them together like this. I put them in a Ziploc. You want to make sure there is no air and close very good and just freeze them. Now I'm gonna start working on my cookies. I do have a really good cookie recipes. My other channel is not in English, unfortunately, but I will try my best to make this video in English as well. But I will leave the ingredient list here, and I'll try to explain as much as I can in the description box.
I don't wanna go and waste another day. Mess it up again, lost in my way. I'll be
Just to let you know, the ingredient list that I just showed you earlier was for half of what I did right here. So I just doubled the ingredients to have enough cookies for my freezer.
Tonight, may I hold you one last time? Let me hold you one last time. What if it's too late for me now? What if you gone to someone else so we can never be the same? How can I make up for my sins? Now I'm lonely and it kills.
Now once the cookie dough is ready, I'm gonna use my ice cream scoop to scoop some cookie dough. I place here some wax paper. You can also use baking sheet, it's okay.
I know you don't wanna talk, but just pick up the phone. We could go for a walk, talk about the things we know. Why don't you?
I'm gonna add some chocolate chip cookie here to the top of it and then place it in the freezer for a couple hours until it's hard. And all what I have to do after that, just take it out of the wax paper, place it in a Ziploc bag, make sure you take all the air out and put it back in the freezer.
Talk about the things we know. Why don't you come sit next to me? Let things happen naturally, like it used to be. I don't wanna go.
So the beef is ready. I'm gonna go ahead and take it out. As you can see, it's fallen apart. It's really good. It's cooked very well. So I'm gonna give the kids to shred that. In the meanwhile, I'm gonna go ahead and cook my potatoes. So those potatoes that you see right here, it's frozen. I made a video on the channel on how to freeze potatoes. Those potatoes are kind of half cooked. So I just defrost it a little bit and then throw it in some oil and let it cook. In the meanwhile, I'm preparing the eggs for the burritos.
Sit up again, lost in my way. I'll be the one to have the highest price to pay. If I make it home tonight, may I hold you one last time? Let me hold you.
Same tip, make sure you add some cream or milk to your eggs before you cook it, and then add some salt and pepper.
One last time.
And here the potatoes is almost ready. I just had to season it, salt and pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and some paprika.
Hold you one last time. What if it's too late?
And now all what I have to do is to cook my eggs, and then we are going to start making the burrito. For the eggs, I heat up my skillet, add some oil and some butter, and add the egg mixture. Make sure you check it every couple minutes and you scrub the bottom so the eggs have the time to cook. Also, do not overcook the eggs because you don't want it to be too dry after. Of course, you want to cook it. I'm not saying keep it raw. You have to cook it, but do not overcook it.
What if it's too late for me now?
Okay, now everything is ready for the burritos. Here I'm gonna do eggs. Of course, don't forget the egg mixture that we did for the English muffin, the leftover, the beef, the potatoes. Of course, you can go ahead and add whatever you want. You can put cheese, you can put any kind of sauce. This is really up to your family. I just want to show you how I wrap it, and then I wrap it in my wax paper and you're good to go. We're gonna do 35 burrito.
What if you gone to someone else so we can never be the same? How can I make up for my sins? Now I'm lonely and it kills me.
Next one is going to be a chicken quiche or chicken tart, if you want to call it this way. So we are going to prepare the chicken. Make sure you cut it as small as possible because you're going to have small quiche, mini quiche, and you want the chicken to be small. You don't want it to be big pieces. And to cook the chicken, I have some oil and butter, and add the chicken and all the spices. And I will of course put the list of the spices here.
Hold you one last time. Let me hold you one last time. What if it's too late for me now?
Once the chicken is cooked, I'm gonna set it aside, then use the same skillet, add some spinach, and let it reduce.
I told myself that maybe he ain't worth it. Too bad I hate advice. 'Cause out of sight and out of mind is perfect. It's
And And I will also need some shredded cheese for this recipe. This cheese is frozen as well. I usually buy like a big 5 pound of cheese and I just freeze it, and whenever I need some I just take it out of the freezer, let it sit at room temperature, and it's good to go. Now we're gonna work on our puff pastry. Usually I do my dough by myself, which is cheaper, it tastes better, but it takes lots of time. So for me today I choose to use a puff pastry because as you can see I had lots of stuff to do, but you can do it yourself. You can also use a pie dough or you can use a puff pastry. This is really up to your taste.
In his pocket, I know that I'm used to treat. Well, the taste is better. Oh, go on, chewing my bones, and when he's done, he's spitting me out.
For this recipe, I need to share with you some advice, very important advice. So if you want to use the regular muffin tin for the quiche, you will have to cook the puff pastry for 10 to 15 minutes before you add any filling. Otherwise, the puff pastry will not cook correctly and it will not taste good. But if you want to skip this step, you can use the mini muffin tin, which I'm using after this one, and for that you don't have to cook it separately. You can cook everything together and it will puff and will be good.
I just wanna be around you.
And here, as you can see, I'm preparing the cream for the filling, so I'm adding my eggs, my whipping cream, and some salt and pepper.
He looks at me like I know what he's thinking, but I don't have a clue. True talent in avoiding conversation, yeah, it's almost rather cruel. Oh, I know he got me good in his pocket. I know that I'm used to treat. Well, the taste is better. Oh, go on, chewing my bones, and when he's done, he's spitting me out. I just can't help myself. One for the pain, no hesitation. Took us we can, nothing can save us, yeah. I just wanna be around you. I just wanna be three for the night, all in or nothing. Not gonna stop, dance till the morning light. I just wanna be around you. I just wanna be around you.
Can you hear it? Yum. It's crunchy, but it's also creamy in the inside. You're gonna have to try this. Okay, now the rest of our quiche are ready. As you can see, they puff, but don't worry about it. Nothing gonna happen. I mean, they're gonna reduce after when they cool down. And look at this. This was so good. I think this was the best recipe from all the recipes I share with you today. I set the quiche aside and I'm gonna start working on my crepes. So this is a very easy crepe recipe. Everything in a blender, only the butter you add it at the end. You have to melt it and add it at the end. Just to give you an idea, I tripled the amount of the ingredients that you see right here.
That I'm used to treat. Well, the taste is better. Oh, go on, chewing my bones, and when he's done, he's spitting me out. I just can't help myself. One for the pain, no hesitation. Took us we can, nothing can save us, yeah. I just wanna be around you. I just wanna be three for the night, all in or nothing. Not gonna stop, dance till the morning light. I just wanna be around you. I just wanna be around you.
Okay, let me show you how to store them. So the best thing I think is to use a wax paper and just roll it like that, but you can also do this way. You can just use wax paper and place the crepes on top of each other like that, and then place it in a Ziploc bag. But I found out that this way is very hard to get crepes, you know, when you want to try to get one or two. But when you roll it like this is easier. You just grab it from the Ziploc bag. I'll show you after how it look like.
Chewing my bones, and when he's done, he's spitting me out. I just can't help.
You can see it's easy this way. You just grab the crepes this way. I think is the easiest way to do it. You can always try the other way if you prefer.
I just can't help myself. One for the pain, no hesitation.
now what I did, I placed all the quiche in the freezer for 2 hours until it frozen, and then I'm gonna go ahead and throw them in this Ziploc bag and put everything in the freezer.
No hesitation, Turkish we can, nothing can save us, yeah. I just want.
And here we go, we have everything here. We did some cookies, we did some quiche, we did some crepes, we did some French toast. What did we do? We did some burritos, and we did some English muffin sandwiches, and this is enough for a month. I hope you liked in today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you want me make a breakfast that stay in the pantry instead of the freezer, let me know. I have a lot of ideas for that. And see you in the next video.
Love me like you